Walter Williams, I want to show something from your website. It's a certificate. And have you explain what exactly we're looking at. A proclamation of amnesty and pardon granted to all persons of European descent.
Well, I wrote that when I was teaching at Temple University. I was teaching at Temple University in Philadelphia from 1973 until 1980 when I went to George Mason. Then I went to George Mason University. And when I became a faculty member at Temple University, there was a push for black economics, a class in black economics. And so I was asking my colleagues, how do demand curves and supply curves slope for black people compared to white people? What is the basic economic difference? And they couldn't come up with any answers. And I said that you're doing these things because you feel a sense of guilt. And so as a matter of fact, during a department meeting, what I told my colleagues when they brought this up, I said, what I'd like to do is to forgive you for both your own grievances and those of your forebears against my people, so that you stop feeling guilty and stop acting like damn fools. I said, now, if some Italian students came to your office demanding Italian economics, you would throw them out or Chinese students demanding Chinese economics, you would throw them out of your office. But for black students, you would, you listen to the argument. So I think a lot of what we see is motivated by white guilt. And I think that guilt is perhaps one of the most dangerous and despicable motivations for doing anything.
Here was an article that appeared when you were teaching at Temple in the Philadelphia Inquirer. It's in your book, Up from the Projects. Racism, ? Temple professor opposes easy grades for blacks. And on the jump, you can see professor opposes leniency for blacks.
Well, I came across this, when I was at Temple University, a very nice professor. He asked me to go to lunch with him. And he said, during the lunch, he was saying some of the problems that he's having with his black students. He said, they don't come every day. Sometimes they don't hand in their assignments. Many times they're sleeping in class, or they hand in their assignments done not very well. And so I said, well, what do you do? He has asked me what do I recommend. I said, what do you do? And so he says, well, I try to take in consideration the poverty and discrimination. I said, no, you have an electrographic pencil just like I do, and you have to put down a grade. And so he says, well, if they come every day and they look like they're taking notes, I'll give them a C. And I said, do you know what you're doing? I said, that's like my having a dog in an English class, and sometime during the semester, a dog gets on his hind legs and says, you're not supposed to do that. Well, you give the damn dog an A, because you don't expect the dog to say anything, and whatever he says is laudable. I said, you're insulting and you're hurting these students by such a policy. So, as a matter of fact, I found out that a number of my colleagues were doing the same thing. And they're motivated by guilt or trying to compensate for the legacy of slavery or discrimination and poverty. And I don't think that does a person very much good in the long run.